And hello and welcome everybody to White Chocolate Podcast, episode 19. This week, maybe it's going to be more of the white vanilla podcast, because as you can see, the person sitting across from me does not look like Will. And that is correct. That is not Will. That is my son, Logan. Will is going to be heading out of town, and we just didn't get a chance to record. So for this week and next week's episode, I'm going to have a guest co-host, hopefully who will bring something different to the podcast. And this is all with Will's permission. This is not like a palace coup where you're overthrowing him.
I'm welcome here.
For now.
Unless
you screw up, in which case we'll kick you out.
Or you could just edit it out.
Edit it out, right, yeah. In post. Our post-production crew will edit that out. So this is my son, Logan, and welcome to episode 19. We wanted to put something out for you rather than just not have a show for the next week or two. So with Will's blessing, I said, can I just have somebody sit in, and we'll do it. So we are broadcasting live from the BLG4 studios. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, our fourth studio. That's how famous we are. We can literally go anywhere and book a studio. So
the versatility.
Our versatility, we're functional, we're compact, we are light on our feet, and we can go wherever we want, whenever we want. So that's my son Logan, and I of course am Dirk, and so we wanted to go ahead and do our White Chocolate Podcast episode 19 this week. We are going to start off with a Blackmail segment in honor of my partner Will. We'll do our, well, he's not dead, Logan. You don't have to cross yourself, but
I'm wishing him farewell.
Our first segment is, well, he's heading away to Mead Lake for the week. Ooh. And he's going to be enjoying. That is in western Nepotism, and right there between the mountains. And so he's going to enjoy that with his family this week. And so he had all kinds of stuff. He had oil changes to do. He had food to pack. He had his hair to get done. He had to get his hair cut. Him and his beautiful, handsome son and daughter, I think they had all kinds of stuff to pack and get ready.
Of course.
And it was a bunch of, and I said, listen, if you don't want to do the podcast, just say you don't want to do it. He's like, hey man, I don't want to do it. No, I'm just kidding. He wanted to do it. He felt bad, but I said, don't worry. Sometimes things may come up.
He's the chocolate of the white chocolate.
Otherwise, we'd have to change the name if he wasn't part of our
White
show.
Almond Milk podcast.
White. I'll just move on.
All right,
let's go. So some blackmail from previous segments, and Logan watches all our shows, so he at least should remember some of this. There'll be a test at the end. But we talked about, a while back, we talked about the tsetse fly. I forget how it came up, but it had to do with animals, I think, that killed the most people in the world. And we talked about the mosquito carrying malaria, but we didn't remember what the tsetse fly. We were like, well, that sounds familiar, but from elementary school, but we couldn't remember. And I looked it up. It carries a virus called the African trypanosomiasis, also called the sleeping sickness. And it's a disease caused by the parasite, the tsetse fly. People can get this when infected. When the tsetse fly bites them, symptoms include fatigue, high fever, headaches, and muscle aches. If it's not treated, it can cause death. So again, probably more in third world countries. The tsetse fly illness that comes with the bites from the fly but we knew that name, but we didn't know what it carried.
So not necessarily from this area, just like
I don't think the tsetse fly is native to the United States at all. I have a feeling it's more native to the continent of Africa or South America, but I don't know for sure. Lots of feedback this week, so the blackmail segment may run a little bit long. My friend Randy, who I mentioned before, who had commented and was just fresh watching the first podcast, he joined about a podcast or two ago. His last name I joked about his last name being unique. It's Friend. It's Randy Friend. And he said, oh, it's okay. You can use my last name. So Randy, he just finished Nats, and he said, that was a great episode. And he said, here are my funny thoughts. Running for the scavenger hunt. He goes, Dirk, don't run. Remember I said I would run when they'd make us do icebreakers and we had to do the scavenger hunt and run through the school? He's like, just don't run. Don't give in to it. Feel free to use my whole name if you want to, no problem. And then he said, is Shania Twain my Taylor Swift? No, because I mentioned Shania Twain when I said something to the effect of that don't impress me much when I was talking about people with loud radios.
Gotcha.
That is not my Shania Twain. Shania Twain is not my Taylor Swift. I have a love-hate relationship with Shania Twain. Some of her songs, I feel like she sells out some of the lyrics just to be like overly flirty, but yet her tunes are very catchy. So it's sort of a love-hate thing with Shania Twain. And he wanted to know, does Will not find Chris Rock funny at all or just in movies? So we'll have to wait, ask Will that in the future.
I like Chris Rock.
I think he likes Chris Rock in moderation, but I think his comment was when it gets to be too much Chris Rock in a row, he just gets, it like grates on his nerves.
I feel like that's kind of me with Seth MacFarlane lately, like just all of his shows.
It's like some of it goes a long way. Like,
yeah, I don't know, just 'cause, I mean, I'm a big Family Guy watcher.
Right.
I know you not so much. Nowadays, I don't understand. I don't know if it's, and I don't know how much of the writing process he does nowadays, but I feel like they do too much of the explaining the joke as they're making it.
Gotcha.
So it's almost as if I almost feel like they're dumbing down the show just so people like.
Gotcha.
I'd rather someone just make a joke. And either it, like, I get it and it's funny, or it just goes over my head.
So I sometimes explain a joke because I think it's funny to, like, mansplain the joke, as the term is. Like, I'll beat you over the head with it by explaining the joke after, of course, you've already gotten it. So maybe that's what they're
Well, they won't even do that. They'll explain it before the joke even happens.
Gotcha.
So it's by the time
I've never been much of a lot. I know Will loves Seth MacFarlane stuff. I always feel like it's, I don't know if I should say vulgarity, but it's like over the top language and topics. It's almost like he's trying to shock you, like a shock comedian would. And so sometimes I'm just
there
like,
are times
I get the joke.
It's hit or miss. When it does hit, it can be really funny.
And the last thing, Brandy said the Popeyes in Charlestown, West Virginia is terrible, because we were talking about loving Popeyes. Lastly, he said Cookout songs, The Wobble, which was one of the songs that I think Will and Preston talked about, is a second half open bar wedding reception song. He said that's the only way everybody's getting out there on the dance floor. And then he said, great job on the podcast. So thank you, Randy. Brent, your friend Brent. Friend Brent.
He left a comment.
Brentford. No, he did not. But remember when you were talking, as a matter of fact, it'd be nice if he did. Brent. But
there's your shout out, Brent.
Yeah,
you wouldn't Brent, for it.
Yeah. So that's why he's mentioned. You remember the night that we talked about his contributions to the Make Me Laugh segment, where he approved and disapproved of my joke choices. And then you said that he complained that he didn't get enough credit.
That is true.
Yeah.
And then he tried to go against me and say, "Oh no, that's not what I said." But
does he talk like that?
Yeah, he does talk like that.
So anyway, Brent, I would like to thank you and recognize you from I just hit my mic. From the ticker, from the bottom of my heart, from the heart of my bottom. I would like to thank you for all of the help you gave me for the Make Me Laugh segment, which I tied for the win with Will. Preston lost. So Brent, there is your shout out, Brentiford. By the way, I should say, he said he would unsubscribe if I didn't shout him out.
Oh,
remember when he said that? He threatened me. He threatened me with an unsub.
That's
what kind of a friend?
Fake fan.
What kind of a friend? All joking aside, Brent, I won't mention his last name, but Brent is an incredibly smart young man, graduated third in your class at your high school.
Actually, he was salutatorian. I forget why.
I don't know what that means. I didn't get
second in the class. Valedictorian is number 1, salutatorian is number 2.
Oh, he was number 2.
I forget. I'd have to ask him why he wasn't number 2. I mean, if you want to leave a comment.
if he can't be number 1, 2's okay. But Brent also got a complete full ride to West Virginia University.
Yes.
And that means they're paying for tuition, books, and paying him money on the side as a stipend, and paying his room and board, and they only give out 5 per incoming freshman year, and Brent was one of the winners of that. So, Brent, you deserve a lot of congratulations. Okay, that's enough. All right, let's move on. Tank Tug. I don't know who that is, but apparently it's somebody who knows Will and Preston. Said that he did best on Preston's Amazon biking picks. Strangely enough, he was only $44 off of Preston's picks. And that wasn't because he knew what Preston was picking in advance. He also commented that to Will and Press that dark chocolate is the best. So I guess that means Preston's better than Will. I really don't know what that means. It must be gang code.
Don't do that.
It must be gang code. I don't understand. That. All right. Dima commented that Deepa loved that Will used a prop during Make Me Laugh when he used the step ladder.
That was hilarious.
Best joke. As soon as he reached back and got the ladder, I almost lost it. And, that was just a great joke. You guys may not have been laughing, but we laughed the entire time. Thank you for Dima and Deepa. Aunt Mary, Will's Aunt Mary commented, poor Preston, Dirk, and Will poor Preston. Dirk and Will got to pick their top 5 in semi-piece, but then Press got hassled for all those choices. That's just Big Brother. That's Will. I mean, and it's same with me and you.
Oh,
You don't have
absolutely.
a big brother, but I take the place. I hassle you all the time
Yeah,
when we're playing games.
absolutely.
I'll probably see it today.
No, maybe.
Grandma Betty commented, fun show, make me laugh, really did make me laugh. So thank you very much for that. And Coach Austin, the husband of Dalesville Susan,
Mm.
who Susan Austin is one, I think you remember, she's one of the
Oh
teachers
yeah.
at my, or used to be a teacher at my school.
Hmm.
And her husband, Coach Austin, says that Preston's cookie list was impressive. I think he meant Will, because I think Will was the one who picked cookies.
I who was that was the was that the one where
White chunk macadamia peanut butter blossom. I think that was Will. I gave the list.
That
to
was
Will.
the one where you narrowed down to 5, right?
Correct. And
Okay.
Will did that. Will picked those. So I think he meant Will's cookie list. As an aside, I tried to start my own online bakery, but I accidentally deleted all my cookies.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure that was a play on the word cookies. Because cookies on a website,
Oh,
deleted all those. At first I didn't pick up on it.
I
I
didn't
thought,
pick- I wouldn't-
I never knew
yeah.
Coach Austin was a baker. And then I went, deleted cookie. Okay.
yeah,
So
that didn't.
I'm pretty sure that was his entry for Make Me Laugh. So I enjoyed that. Thank you, Coach, for leaving that comment. Keep up the great work. He said, always fun. And then Chris from Texas said, you guys definitely beat me in the Make Me Laugh segment. I lost it on mothballs. And
Okay, yeah, that was
it was strong.
Good. That was very strong.
It was very strong.
Who said, was that you or was that? Who was
that was Mr. Will's joke.
Oh,
Sorry, Mr. Will, because my kids call him Mr. But yeah, that was Will's joke.
Gotcha.
Will did the just have a hard time getting.
He had a couple dingers.
That, and here's the thing, I felt like, and I talked with Will about this, we felt like the segment wasn't as funny because we didn't laugh as much.
Because you were prepared.
Well, not just that. We're so competitive. We wanted to win, and we put winning over. I think we both put winning
over just
top
having
of
fun.
Just letting the audience
Yeah.
hear us laugh. Because really, like when you watch a comedy show, the best part is when you watch someone break character and laugh out loud. And we didn't do any of that. So I think the problem was we were like, we're just laughing. If we laugh, we lose, and we didn't want to lose.
I think Preston.
So we decided that we just didn't want to laugh.
Yeah, Preston laughed a couple times, didn't he? Didn't you all laugh at least once?
Yeah, I think Will and I think laughed once each, and Preston laughed twice. So anyway, it was a close game. So that's it for Blackmail segments for today. Thank you very much for everybody for listening. I'll mention this. We're up to, and this is pretty crazy, we are up to 92 subscribers on YouTube now. So my goal was to 100. And somehow we've gone from, I think we were at 72 up to 80 couple, and then we've made it all the way up to 92 now. So if anybody knows 8 people, or if anybody still is willing to have more children, have 8 more, create a YouTube account for each one of them, and then each have them subscribe.
Once we hit 100 subscribers, we're going on the white chocolate tour around the entire U.S.
Yeah, we'll get a bus. We'll get a school bus. We'll rip out the seats. We'll put in couches. We'll paint it up.
There you go.
With Will and my face on the side, and we'll just sell tickets. I mean, we'll travel around the country. Tonight, white chocolate.
Sold
you know
out.
what? What if we, you know what people really might think we're giving away chocolate, and that would bring in the crowds. So tonight only, free
white chocolate.
We would have a full room to play to every single night.
I mean, I'd buy my ticket.
Well, you wouldn't have to. It's free.
There you go.
We'll make up the money in merch and those T-shirts that I
right.
make. All right, so we're going to go on, ladies and gentlemen, to segment 2. And we're going to do a segment that actually Will and I haven't even done yet, but we came up with a while ago called Buff It or Nerf It. Now, in the video game world, and by the way, you might notice that I'm playing a little bit with the camera shots. So you'll notice that like right now, the camera is just on me. And right now the camera is just on Logan. And then I've set up a 2-shot. This was actually kind of good because Will and I have always been just using my iPhone to record. And if for some reason you didn't see the camera shot change when I was describing that, it's because it didn't work. I'm actually recording us 2 ways. One using some Logitech cameras and another using my iPhone the way we have in the past, and trying new audio. So we're kind of playing around with different ways to figure out shooting our podcast. Ideally, we'd love to be able to have 3 individual cameras so that when we have a guest, we don't have to have 2 people crammed into one camera shot. So we purchased 3 web streaming cameras and tripods and interfaces. And I won't go into all the details, but it took a long time for me to get everything set up today because it's the first time. So we're trying it out. If the audio sounds a little different, if the camera view sounds or looks a little different, if you like the 1-shot, 2-shot switching between where we're talking about different things, just let us know in the comments. And this is sort of a trial run. So a lot of changes. We're just trying to make it better, trying to make the camera views a little better and try to make it a little bit more interesting. So there you go. And Logan, luckily, he's sort of a capture. You're like an indentured servant here, so you can't really complain if Mr. Will sometimes gets impatient with me when I want to switch things around. But you don't have a choice. So, because you're my child, so I get to just tell you, sit there and wait for me to get this set up. So anyway, I don't know what's the funky look for, but anyway, well, moving on. So buff it or nerf it. For people that don't know, video game terms, buffing or nerfing something means to make it more or less powerful. So if you buff something, it means you give it more power. Like if we're playing Fortnite, they say they really buffed the shotgun. That means they really gave it extra knockdown power. Or if they really nerfed it. Now, I didn't invent these terms. I had to learn them as I was learning video gaming. Nerfing means, oh, that gun used to be powerful, but they nerfed it, meaning they took away a lot of its power. So it's not as...
Does that have anything to do with like the brand?
Maybe nerfing something means like making it like a Nerf gun
just
where
kind
it
of
doesn't
cheap,
hurt.
Or it's just like...
Or not cheap, but softer.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, buff it or nerf it. Here's buff it or nerf it is where we're going to talk about 5 things each that we think are either overrated or underrated. So they need to be buffed or they need to be nerfed. In other words, so if you like, while you're pulling your list up, I can start.
Go right ahead. Are we alternating?
We can, sure.
Okay.
And I'll try some one camera shots while we do this. So.
Sounds good.
So if I start here, we're going to start with the first one, and my first one is Mountain Dew. Well, I'm going to tell you.
Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you. So I think Mountain Dew is underrated, and here's why I think Mountain Dew is underrated. Mountain Dew is a great beverage. It has a great lemon limey flavor. It is uber sweet, and the Code Red version is like almost like a cherry flavored Mountain Dew. It's just sweet. It's got a lot of burnt. Don't do that. I was counting on my fingers. See this? I bring you on as a guest, and you're going to mock me on my own podcast.
How many times have I seen Will do this?
That's different. He's allowed to. He's allowed to mock me
because he's a regular.
Yeah, because he owns half the show.
Yeah,
all of our assets. So, and besides, his family provides the most of the listeners. So I have to let him do whatever he wants. Yeah, shout out to the Kelly and Murray families and everybody else.
I listen.
That's true. So anyway, I think it tastes great. It's that lemon limey. It's got a little bit of a lemonade-y kind of aftertaste. It's really carbonated, which I love the burn. Why are you already laughing?
Sorry. It's sad.
Are we going to do this all?
I don't know.
And the Code Red version, adding a little cherry flavor to it, can't go wrong. Now, here's why I think it's over, or it needs to get more credit. It's underrated. Most people make fun of Mountain Dew. As a matter of fact, there's a whole thing in West Virginia.
Like the redneck soda.
Yeah, is that it's what do they call Mountain Dew teeth? Because it is high in sugar and acidic.
It is bad for your teeth.
Yeah, it's bad for your teeth. And a lot of people, they say West Virginia, people drinking Mountain Dew and their teeth rot out and stuff like that. So it gets a bad rap, but I think it's underrated. Okay. Pleased to be going ahead with yours.
All right. For my first pick, and this list was, before I go into it at all, this list was surprisingly harder to make than I thought, because I thought I picked 5. I was like, okay, well, that's my list. And I was like, well, maybe I'll change this or that. Wasn't quite sure what I wanted. But for my first one, I came with this one this morning because I was talking with Brent about this yesterday. Snapchat. First social media platform I downloaded. I think, as it stands right now, I would say it's overrated.
Overrated.
And I think
First of all, wait. Maybe
how you got to add someone. Yeah.
Should we agree or disagree? Do you think Mountain Dew is overrated or is underrated? Do you think it deserves more credit, or do you think it's...
I don't think
just a quick yes or no. 1, 2, 3.
No.
Okay. So you disagree with me on Mountain Dew. You don't think it deserves more credit.
I don't think it deserves more credit or gets too much credit.
You think that's what I'm saying.
When I'm in the mood,
it's not underrated.
I'll grab a Mountain Dew when I'm in the mood for it, or if it's in the household.
Better than your precious Dr. Pepper.
I love Dr. Pepper.
All right. So now I will say I agree with Snapchat being overrated, but you go ahead and talk about it.
I think I was talking with Brent yesterday about this. Brent, you're going to get a lot of attention this episode. I think the way that it's gone, and I don't know, someone could let me know or let us know because I don't know when Snapchat started, but it's a lot of it is just using funny filters, taking funny pictures and just sending it to friends, or just viewing people's stories, like just posting on their stories or just talking with people. I have a feeling that Snapchat is going to become the next Facebook, in that it's just, a lot of it is just such, there are these, I'm trying to think, because there are, one of the things that you can do, like in viewing the stories, or like sort of like Instagram, how you have reels, like funny clips, they have what are called Bitmoji stories, and it's just pictures of short stories with Bitmojis of you and maybe one of your friends who you talk to regularly. And it's just such, it's Gen X level, not to call you out, but like Gen X level humor that, to me or my friends, it's just either really stupid or just unfunny.
Okay.
But I don't know. I feel like a lot of the features have just worn out.
Here's what I think, why not just text somebody? Like, I don't understand the whole, and it disappears after 20. Well, to me, like, nothing that I text, I need it to disappear. So to me, Snapchat, if I were a jealous spouse, which I'm not, but if Shannon or I were jealous and we were on Snapchat, it seems like, well, who did you snap? Well, why are you using Snapchat? Why wouldn't you just text? It also seems like the idea of Snapchat is to be able to send things you don't want other people to find out you're sending. So I never understood it for that reason. Like, why not just send you a text? I can use them. The filters, yes, I grant the filters are funny, and you can make yourself look like a giraffe and talk. That's
like
cool.
A horse.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, okay, so I agree with you. I think that's overrated.
I mean, and even things like Snapchat and Instagram, I think a lot of the reasons people gravitate, especially Instagram, is it's much more public. Like, you can do one-on-one, but also more public. Right. Texting, you don't really get that public thing.
Here's the other thing. All of those, you're right, all of those become obsolete as older people start to use them.
Right.
So, Facebook was the new thing. And then grandmas and grandpas got on Facebook, or I age up and I'm still on Facebook, or and then the young kids go, that's what the old people use. So they have to come up with their new one. And they constantly do. They reinvent, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Snapchat. All of those things are the same thing. They're just redoing it. Twitter was up. Now it's dying. It's like,
whatever the new one that I can't remember the name. But
all right, I'm going to move on because we want to get through these.
Please do.
Number 2, overrated for me. Pete Davidson. Don't think he's funny. He's not handsome. I don't care who he's dating or courting, or I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care about Pete Davidson. I don't think he's that funny. I don't find him attractive at all. I don't find any redeeming qualities about how he swoops in after a lady breaks up with somebody and then he's like quick to her side. And I think he takes advantage of, I just don't dig Pete Davidson. That's it. That's all I have to say. Go ahead with your next one.
I agree.
Yeah, overrated. Yeah. I don't see why people talk about it.
I don't dislike him. I've never cared for him. Another overrated one, not to be so negative right off the bat. One that a lot of my friends gravitate toward too, or just people my age. Taco Bell.
Love Taco Bell.
Well then, I guess we already disagree. But
we'll agree to disagree. Okay.
I don't know how much I can comment because I've only had it once, and it was a while back. I got their Doritos Locos Tacos, or whatever they're called.
Some people would say you haven't had it enough to judge yet, but I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. This based on my experience. What
did you get? What did you get when you went? Just
the Doritos Locos Tacos.
That was it.
I got that. I don't know if we got.
Never had a good old soft taco.
We got it. I think we got it as a family.
We did, but I don't remember what you ate.
Doritos Locos Tacos.
Oh, that was it.
That was it. I don't know if we had nachos or anything else. It's not terrible for the price. I can understand why people go to it.
They should make a commercial with you. Come to Taco Bell. It's not terrible.
It's edible.
What a slogan. Taco Bell. It's not terrible. Yo quiero Taco Bell. It's no terrible. That was for you, Fernando. That was Spanish. He doesn't watch.
Yeah. Really?
No. He doesn't love us anymore.
I can understand why people go to it for the price you pay and how much food you can get for such a cheap price, but I can't get myself into Taco Bell. I'm not a taco person to begin with. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but I just can't get hooked on
All
it.
right, that's okay. All right, coming back to me for the next one. Number 3. This is underrated. Something that deserves more credit than it gets. Flannel sheets. Flannel sheets on a bed. It's like you're in a sleeping bag all the time. Think about when you used to go camping. Well, you never really camped in a tent, but when you used to go camping in a tent, one of the best parts of camping in a tent was having the sleeping bag, because when you unzip that sleeping bag, that soft flannel inside, when you get
I didn't have to say a word.
when you get inside, I caught myself that time. When you get inside that sleeping bag and your bare feet slide down against that or your legs or slide down against that really soft flannel inner lining of a sleeping bag. That's why I don't like the nylon sleeping bags, the real slippery kind in the inside. You got to have the flannel.
And even you see a lot of my friends in high school.
No, this is mine. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I was just going to say a lot of my not to
tip it in.
Biggie bag.
Oh yeah, don't say piggyback. That's from episode 9.
Right. Yeah, my trivia. A lot of people in high school, or just I don't know if it's a middle school thing too. I'd have to ask Grace about that. But a lot of people in high school just wear like flannel shirts or like flannel jackets. And I've tried them; they're really comfortable.
They're soft. It's all cotton, and they're really, really soft. So flannel sheets, especially in the wintertime, they're so warm. And when you wake up in the morning, you just I don't know. This is just a weirdism for me. I just lay there and I'll move my feet around because I just love the way it feels. The softness on my feet feels so good. So I love that. All right, you're up.
All right. Next one, underrated one. My first underrated one that I talked about with Brent and my other friend Emily. Shout out Emily. Babylon, which I don't know if you've seen it. For those of you who don't know what it is, Babylon, it's a fairly recent movie. It came out last year, maybe Christmas time. It's got Margot Robbie, Brad Pitt, which...
Ooh, you mentioned Margot Robbie. That's I don't know if I should say this on the podcast. That's Mr. Will's sort of movie crush.
There you go. If he watches that, so you'll get a...
I've never even heard of Babylon.
Yeah, it's... Oh, and it's also... I almost... Funny enough, so little honorable mention, I almost put Brad Pitt on this list as overrated. I just don't understand why people find him so... I don't think he's that great of an actor. But anyway, regardless, a lot of people... It's an R-rated movie, and it's... Basically, it takes place in the 1920s, and it's about it shows a lot of stars, like from actors to filmmakers to musicians. It talks about the transition from silent pictures to sound movies. Mm-hmm. And of course, it's the 1920s, so there's some well, there's that side, but there's also a lot of stuff like there's just like whether it's just drugs or
ugliness.
Yeah, and some people can find it overbearing, which I can understand why, but at the same time,
it was like real life.
Was how no one gave a crap in the 1920s.
Well, yeah, it was the Roaring 20s. They called it.
Everyone had money, and they were just throwing it all away.
It was before the stock market crash in 1929, before we went into the Great Depression, and it was a happy time in America. So, okay, good. Well, I'm going to go on to the next one, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Underrated. This might be my biggest underrated one. The rain. Simply put, the rain is wonderful, but so many people complain when it rains. Oh, it's going to rain. Or, oh, darn, we haven't had the sun in 2 days. It's so rainy. It's ugly. It's this, it's that. I don't find the rain ugly. As a matter of fact, the trees where we live, I'm looking out a window kind of at our trees in the backyard. The rain cleans everything. The air is cleaner. It filters out like the smoke, all these particles from this Canada fire, but it cleans off the pollen from the trees and the leaves. Everything smells fresher. Everything looks cleaner. The colors are more vivid because all the dust is washed off. And I know this is a flashback to when I was a child, but Dad and I, Granddad, when I would sit on a bucket in the garage, we'd open the garage door up just far enough that we could see under it, and we would sit there and just watch the rain. It sounds wonderful. It's soothing. To me, it's calming. You look on like those go to sleep apps, and there's so many of them that have thunderstorm and rain.
Like white noise?
Yeah, like white noise apps. And so I go, well, that must be soothing to other people besides me. But you hear people always complain about, oh, it's going to rain Saturday. I love the rain, especially if you have a roof to sit under outside where you can stay dry, but you can still watch the lightning and thunder. I love thunderstorms. So
Yeah.
the rain, the only thing down about the rain is that it makes the grass grow, which means I have to mow more
It's
often.
almost like natural. You know what ASMR is?
Yes.
That's no, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. They don't need to hear that.
Okay. So
As much as I like it, they don't need to hear
Move
that.
on with your number 4, please.
All right, my number 4. Underrated, and I think you will agree with me on this. Erie, Pennsylvania. We just went there last week as a family on vacation, and that was our 3rd consecutive. We've been making it a yearly trip these past few years, and so we went up for the week, and most people don't think of Erie when they think vacations, and you know the story.
Most people that I've talked to that we've gone there would be like, oh, I never thought about.
Yeah, like we went to the first trip, we went to Starbucks, and you asked someone, you're like, oh, hey, we're on vacation in Erie. What's there to do? And they were like, you came to Erie for vacation?
Yeah, even the people that live there. Now, some of that's typical, because if somebody came to Falling Waters and said, we're here on vacation, we'd be like, well, what?
I mean, like if I lived in New York City, I could understand.
Or Hagerstown, Maryland, we're here for vacation. You go. But Erie has the lake, and I agree with you, it's underrated. Some people might not realize how close it is, because I was talking with somebody the other day, and they said, oh, it's only 4.5 hours for you? I figured it would be a lot farther than that. And I said, no, it's closer than the Outer Banks. It's
probably thinking just other places like Michigan or...
Yeah, it seems so far away, because Lake Erie, you're thinking up in that way northern end.
Like Ohio.
4.5 hours from where we live, it's not that bad. I agree, it's underrated. All right. And plus there's Sarah's. We're not even going to go there.
We love Sarah's.
We're not going to go there. It's a campground and diner right at the entrance to Presque Isle, which is Presque Isle State Park.
The best onion rings.
Yeah, the onion rings are phenomenal. Their burgers are decent. The onion rings are worth driving 30 minutes for.
I think their burgers are better than decent. I mean, they're not the best, but they're...
Correct.
They're good.
It's not the highest quality beef, but they have a great taste.
But their
bacon. The bacon, they switched bacons this year, we figured. It's a real smoky flavor. It's so good. Anyway, all right, number 5 for me. Overrated, and it's funny that you picked Erie, because mine is a location as well. And I have Mom, your mother, to back me up. My wife. Ocean City, overrated.
I agree.
Overrated.
Yeah.
We went to Ocean City a couple of years ago because my wife wanted to go. She's like, I've heard everybody around this area. Oh, we're going to Ocean City. We're going to Ocean City. We're going to Ocean City. What's in Ocean City? I said, honey, nothing for me. Like, I haven't been there since I was 15. We went with my grandfather way back then. And I said, I haven't been back since, because I don't have any reason to go to Ocean City. Well, what's there? I said, lots of people, lots of stores. She goes, well, what about the boardwalk? I said, it's boards. You just walk on it. There's stores, there's the beach, there's the ocean. But other than the beach and the ocean, it's just a crowded town. She's like, well, I want to go. So we went down. We stayed in Cambridge. We saw Uncle Gus that time, my dad's brother. And we went out to the ocean, and we got to Ocean City, and it was 10 o'clock in the morning. We parked in the big common lot.
Bright.
Got some Thrasher's fries, started walking up the boardwalk. We made it 4 blocks, and Mom went, is this all it is? And I was like, pretty much. Yep. She goes, let's get out of here.
Like Thrasher's fries, clothing stores, arcades, Dippin' Dots, and then it repeats.
Yeah, just repeat.
Yep.
And then so we ended up going to Assateague and seeing the horses and all kinds of stuff. That was Assateague. It's a horse place. Gotcha. And by the way, if you've never been to Assateague, go down and see the wild ponies. It's really cool to see them. But yeah, Ocean City, overrated. Too expensive. My uncle says it's getting a little dangerous down there, crime. But especially in the summer months. Crowded, expensive, hot, boring. Unless you want to drink or get an airbrush t-shirt, there's really no reason to go to Ocean City, in my opinion. So that's what I think about that. Near number 5.
All right. Save the best for last.
I'll decide that. Just kidding.
Brent, I may or may not have told you a little white lie yesterday.
Uh-oh.
Yesterday being Wednesday.
Uh-oh.
But Brent, Emily, Maisie, shout out to you guys. I'm sorry you left me no choice. There, I know where I'm going.
You're going to say Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. Overrated.
Okay.
Now, because I know already sitting
here. You want to let the screaming and yelling before you...
All right, I'll wait.
Give them a couple seconds.
Go ahead. Get it out of your system.
Okay, they're done throwing tomatoes at their watching device.
Okay, all right. Now that we're all calmed down. Great singer. I think she's got a wonderful voice, good looking.
I wouldn't even give her great. I would give her good, but go ahead.
I mean,
yeah, fine.
I mean, I can understand why people like
Aretha Franklin, great singer.
Yes.
Taylor Swift, not Aretha
Okay.
Franklin. So I would put her in a category down from great.
Her songs, I saw what you meant, or I can see what you mean whenever we had that one conversation just talking about the range that she chooses for her songs is very limited. I will give her credit. She has a impressive low range.
Right now, Brent is going, that's not true.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's just screaming his head off. Her low range, and I've told Brent this, I mean, very impressive. I think that's really cool.
And her voice is very rich.
Yes.
I do like that.
Yes, she's got good tone, good pitch.
And I should mention now, Logan is a musician as well, so he has a good musical ear. He has perfect pitch, which just means, it's kind of rare, but it means we discovered it when he was, I don't know, 10, 8.
Probably middle school.
Basically, it means that if I were to sing a note or play a note on an instrument, Logan can tell you what the note is without knowing anything. It's pretty rare. Only one in a few thousand.
Might be 10,000.
Yeah, sure. It's pretty rare. And it's really cool to me that he has that. In a way, I'm jealous. In other ways, I'm not, because it also means that if anybody plays out of tune, it's infinitely more annoying to you than it is to me. Because it basically means you're like a walking tuner.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. So go ahead. But Taylor Swift, low range, good. Yeah.
Low range is good.
Simple
good
melodies quality. For me is kind of my complaint.
Kind of repetitive.
But how about this? I watched a live concert. I actually showed part of a live concert to my students at school. Great show woman, show person.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say showman because that's the old term, but show woman, show person, show lady. She is very dynamic when she puts on her concerts, and the sets that they build with her walking out on that long, she walks out on that long walkway, like a catwalk.
I've seen it.
And then it raises her up, and she's like 30 feet above the audience, 50 feet out from the stage on like this giant arm that moves around. I mean, absolutely puts on a show. So I will not take anything away from that.
Brent knows that.
As far as her, Brent just
and
went,
Emily.
And Emily just went up to where?
Pittsburgh. Saw her live in Pittsburgh.
Drove 4 hours.
It was I think he said it was the most populated event in the history of
Brent just makes that up because he likes Taylor Swift. You can't trust a guy who gets second place in his class. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, if you disagree or agree with us on things that are rated high or too high or too low, please let us know. But that's our list. Those are our opinions, of course. You're welcome to disagree. Please leave some comments if you agree with Logan or I about what's rated high or too highly or too low. All right, Logan, I would like to move at this time on to segment number 3. Segment number 3 is not going to be a game. It's going to actually just be sort of an interview.
All right.
And I want you to answer these questions not succinctly, but try to stick to the topic of each question because I have about 10 I'd like to get through.
Okay.
And this is just to help. So for the audience, I'll set this up by saying this. I've always thought the shows, whether it's Adam Carolla or Howard Stern, and everybody has their own opinions of the shock jocks aspects of Howard Stern. But the one thing Howard Stern is extremely good at is interviewing. And what is interesting, in my opinion, about Howard Stern's show is not so much Howard Stern, but how much he gets his guests to feel comfortable talking about on his radio show. And I love learning about things that I don't know about. So, for instance, next week, just as a little preview, I'm going to invite my sister-in-law, who is a baker, went to patisserie school to learn how to bake, and I don't want to spill too much of what we're going to talk about, but she's going to talk about what that's like to go to school to learn how to be. And she was trained in a 5-star place, like a real patisserie school in Orlando, Florida, and paid a pretty penny to go there, but makes desserts that are just 5-star hotel quality or 5-star restaurant quality desserts from scratch. And so we're going to talk about that. So I like talking to people about what they do because everybody has an interesting story and you can learn a lot. So what do you do? And I was thinking, well, you're a high school graduate now and you're about to start college. And I thought for most of our audience, most of our audience is not your age. Most of the audience is between Mr. Will and my age, or maybe even older than me. It's been a long time since they've been in high school. It's been a long time since they've started college, if they went to college. And so I thought I want to ask you just maybe 8 or 10 questions. We'll see how long it goes. About what life is like for a current teenager. You are 18. You are basically an adult now, but still a teenager. So let me start with this. Overall, how was your high school experience on a scale of 1 to 10, and why?
Easy 10.
An easy 10.
Easy 10. There
And I'm
were,
going to target some questions to your activities later, so don't go too
right.
far into.
There were definitely some hard times and times that I was feeling down, and I'm sure depending on the questions, I can go into those. Times where I look back and I wonder, man, how in the world did I have the motivation to get through that? But just with everything I was doing and the people that I was doing it with, so many days I went in and it didn't feel like school. It felt like it's a family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy to think how far, like just looking back at all of us, so many of my friends just looking back and wondering, like, how did we, from such a short span of time, from 2019 to 2023, how did we change so much?
And that not that this is an interview segment about me, but you'll find as you get older, you'll look back, like instead of looking back at 4 years like you are now, I'm looking back at 30 years and I'm saying, geez, how much did I change since high school, or how much has gone on in my life since I got married or since I had children, and so it's, it's definitely a pattern that continues in your life to look back and see what you accomplished. Right. So an easy 10. Would you say, well, I'm going to stick to how many of your friends that I'm going to go off script already. How many of your friends would say it was a 10 for them, do you think? Do you think you're abnormal in that regard?
I think so. I think...
And if so, like, why is it a 10? And by the way, I didn't tell Logan any of these questions ahead of time, and I didn't help him prepare any answers. So this is really just off the cuff for him.
I mean, my high school experience was far from perfect. I can say that right now. But the enjoyment level was definitely a 10. I don't know how my friends would rank based on high school experience, like just in terms of how involved they were, what they did, or how much they enjoyed it, or who they enjoyed it with, if they enjoyed it with anyone. I would say my high school experience is definitely out of the ordinary. I'd say I've done pretty well for where I am, and I'm grateful for just all the people who helped me get there.
As you look back on high school, what would you say was your biggest surprise?
COVID.
Yeah.
Hands down.
And that was 6:30. Best time. Hands down.
Yeah.
And that's one of my questions. I'll skip to that one since you segued to it. How did COVID and online school affect your high school experience? Either good or bad or both?
It was, thinking from my high school experience, it was not good at all. I look back often on that, and I think of so many of my classes and just thinking of how much I didn't learn in so many of them, but also how in the world I had the motivation to sit down and just actually do the work. I think that was I became much more of a procrastinator at that point.
We'll talk a little bit more about something else, other factors that were included in why motivation was a problem, because there were definitely other factors. But COVID didn't. Why were you less motivated because of COVID, because of online school?
I was less motivated. Just there was no leaving the house to go to school and see your friends. There was no in-person interaction, one-on-one, like you and I are having right now with my teachers or any of my friends or the people that I care about. It was just being stuck at home and just seeing them on a screen.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have that many friends to talk to throughout that, because this was my sophomore year of high school, for context. Throughout that whole period of time, I didn't really have those many friends to talk to. So I had no one to help get me through the day.
Yeah. You had just kind of gotten involved. And we lost during that same year, we lost my father, Logan's grandfather on my side, and also my wife's father within 2 months. So part of the motivational problem was losing granddad and pappy, and then also having no friends support group. I mean,
there was no time to just sit back and grieve. It was, you wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning, you learn about it, and it's all right. You got to hop on a Teams meeting. You got to do your work. You got to do your classes.
Yeah, and because you had all that going on, and because there wasn't time to just sit there, you had a social group online, but you had only really known those people for 2/3 of a year when you got out, and
Yeah.
so
Well,
you relied on them. But you guys used that online option significantly to keep in touch.
and I will say that, I mean, I don't know if any of my online friends watch this. Just I don't know if I've advertised this podcast to them, but I will say they were one of the very few things that helped me get through it. Just because I have an online friend who lives in LA. Their stage name is PB because that they stream on Twitch, and I was invited as part of the friend group to just be a part of their streams whenever they'd play games, and we would just hop on a call, and they would open up their stream, and we would just have so much fun. And that
Yeah, I remember that.
so many late nights sitting in your office just playing that. I mean, that's what got me through so much of that.
Was there anything good about COVID?
Well, just the fact that I was able to find online friends, what I did learn from my teachers, there was one class, I think my Algebra 2 class, that was the main class I really learned anything, and I was very grateful for the help from my teacher at the time. Also, just being there with Granddad right before everything just kind of went south, because we didn't really get that.
And we were able to, because online school didn't take up specific time all day like regular school, both of us had more freedom to
I wasn't at school
Right.
at practice until 4:30. I wasn't at football games until 10 o'clock at night, so
Right.
much more time.
Okay, good. Let's move on. The next question I had, what was your hardest thing for you if you had to rule out COVID, what would you say was the hardest thing for you during your high school career?
The hardest thing during my high school career, easily one of the hardest that comes to mind, was back at the beginning of my senior year. There was an, how do I describe it? There was an incident where, I won't go into detail, but
yeah, that's fine.
Basically resulted in someone I knew very well at the time starting a false rumor about me. And it was not fun in the slightest. This person would just talk to all of my friends and just say things that weren't true, and then get them involved in the drama, and then just talk to them about how.
Yeah, and to be fair, if I'm talking about the same thing you're talking about, it was somebody that you had really befriended. Like,
yes.
We gave them rides to practice. We
yes.
did, like, we really helped because we were sympathetic to this person. We were empathetic to this person, not because there was anything wrong with them, but just because they also struggled in different ways, and you were always a great friend to them. And then somehow, without going into detail, it was a joke that you made that had been made before, but for some reason the person decided to jump on you, and it all got blown out of proportion.
And it just, at the time, I just, like, in the band,
social drama.
Yes, and it's, at the time, I mean, I had established myself as a responsible leader in the band. Marching band is one of my favorite things.
And it reflected badly on your reputation.
Yeah, I just become drum major. I'd worked very, very hard to strengthen my.
We're going to talk about that too. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I worked really hard to strengthen my connections with people so that people would.
And that was the next thing I was going to say. Describe your extracurricular activities and what those experiences meant to you. Band, drama.
Band was by far my favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, not save that for last, but that's what I've spent the most time doing. That's all that I knew starting out in high school. When, as a freshman, I had to take so many core classes, band was the one extracurricular that I could afford. And it gave me the best friends that I have today. Just older upperclassmen and younger underclassmen. Still, many of whom I still talk to today, and I'll get to see at band camp soon. So I'm coming back to help out. It gave me a really strong mentor in my band director, who's helped me out through so much, and he's just taught me so many valuable lessons.
And who knows that you're thinking about going into music, and so he's kind of, in a certain way, he's put you under his wing and allowed you the opportunity to learn kind of from the teacher side of you what happens in band.
And I've also done, other than learning several musical instruments, clarinet was my main instrument. I now know guitar. I can play a little piano, percussion, etc. I also did theater. Theater was kind of what I considered my hobby, just because I mean, band. I was in band all the time. That was just such a regular.
And kind of a surprise for theater too. Like theater wasn't something you went into high school thinking about, really.
It
I mean, you knew you had an interest, but you hadn't had a lot of middle school experience or anything.
well, actually, I would have. I actually would have started with theater in high school had it not have been for Spanish 2, because that took up my other elective space. When I went into high school, I originally wanted to take band and theater 1, but
there's always conflicting classes.
I wanted to. While I still remembered everything from Spanish, I figured it would be more practical to just
get it out of the way.
Yeah. While I still remembered everything,
For sure.
and theater. Like, just think about it, I'm just, wow. It opens so many new doors for me in just the world of acting and getting to work with my peers on such a different level and just getting to know my theater director and laugh and joke around with him. And even on the director side, I got to help assistant direct one of the plays that we had, so I got to be on both sides.
One of the things that you mentioned a second ago in passing was being drum major in the band. And for those that don't know, drum major is the person who's selected by the director or by the students, depending on the group, to stand up in front of them and wave their arms about and flap like a chicken.
I was the guy you saw on the podium in front of conducting the band on the
field. But that role goes beyond just being a conductor. The role goes to being a leader, being trusted to lead. And that was an honor. Because of that, and because of being in theater, you also, and I'm going to sort of toot your horn for you so that you don't have to, but you also got to be the homecoming king. You said you came home one day and told Mom and I want to run for homecoming king, and we were like, nobody in our family.
Did I tell you I wanted to run, or did I tell you I was on the?
You told me that you were in the finalists. I think at that point.
I think I was on the. Yeah, I was in the court. I was in the top 4,
and we didn't even know you went in for it, and we were like, what? I mean, with no disrespect intended. We were like, our kid, like nobody in our family was popular, and that was always a popularity contest. So we go to the homecoming, and I'll tell the story from the parent point of view. We go to your homecoming football game, and at halftime we got to drive. In West Virginia, it's a whole thing. Drive your pickup trucks around the track.
Yep.
And so we had to put the students in our back of our pickup, and I bought the little things that suction cup on the top of my truck so you guys would have something to hold on to. And we drive around the track, and lo and behold, by the time the halftime was over, they announced who's the homecoming king.
And we're all standing on the field.
And it was you. Yeah, we walked across the field, and we're all standing there in a line waiting to be announced. And they announced that you were the homecoming king. And your mother looked at me, and I looked at her like, whose kid is this? Because nobody in our family has ever been popular. What do you think? Like, you're, no offense, but you're not like...
I'm not the traditional popular kid.
Right. You're not the football quarterback, right? So how in the world, where do you think that came from? Do you think it came from, obviously you had the band vote.
Oh,
and that helped, but you needed more than just the band vote to win that. How do you think that came about? Were you surprised?
Oh, 1,000%. I think, because
you even told us, I don't have a chance.
I never, well, because also for context, our class president was also on the homecoming court, and not the most likable guy, but I figured, surely he's got to be the...
Don't call me Shirley.
Yeah, I was waiting for that.
Okay.
Like, I thought, I mean, people are always on this side. Like, he's always been the popular guy. I figured there's no way I'm going to beat this guy, despite how much people might like me.
But it should be noted that there was the previous year's winners were members of the band.
Yeah, prom king and queen earlier, a few months prior, were 2 band seniors.
Right. So, and maybe the power of the band and the reach of the band is more powerful than you think in your high school.
Yeah, and that is still to this day the most surreal experience of my entire life, and I think it just through making all those connections and just being myself, and it's something I'm going to shouting out all my friends. Richie, who was actually the prom king last year, I just mentioned.
All these people better listen and subscribe to the podcast.
They better.
Otherwise,
yeah,
I'm
he better be
them
subscribed.
out.
But I don't know what it is about Richie, but he just has this amazing quality to just be himself and not care what anyone else thinks. And it's such an amazing quality to see in a person, just because whenever he was just goofing off in band, it wasn't, who's this weird kid? It was just, that's just Richie being Richie.
And here's the thing, and this is what I think a lot of young people don't get. and for older people that are watching this, I'm sure that they can think back to their time. You're never as free in life as you are when you can finally decide to be satisfied with who you are and to be what you are and to not let others' opinions bother you. One of the things that I say about Will and Preston, one of the compliments that I give them all the time is how comfortable they seem in their own skin. And I said, what was that? And how did you get that way? Because I want to provide that for my children. And they both say, my mom and dad, like they just always don't worry about what people think. You just do the best. You can handle any situation. And it's that confidence that Dima and Deepa gave them that allows them to go into any situation and just seem like they've got it under control. They don't ever seem rattled. They don't ever seem frazzled or worried or self-conscious. Now they may be, but they go into it with this sort of confidence. And I think that's true for people like Richie. And to be honest, you have a lot of that. Like I'll say to you, Logan, what? You're not going to really do that, are you? And I won't bring up specifics, but things that I would have never done because I would have been worried people would make fun of me. And you will go, I can think of one example if you don't mind me saying it. But like when you would go to dances at your school and it was like, I don't know, what was the theme, Beyond the Stars or something? And you went in a all black outfit dressed like Luke Skywalker.
Oh, it was they didn't call it Disney because you can't call it Disney. It's copyright. It was bootleg Disney.
Yeah, bootleg Disney, right. And you went as Luke Skywalker and you had one of your lightsaber hilts hanging on your belt. I would have thought anything in my life, I would have bet money that you're going to be, oh, look at that dork wearing, because in my day, people were much more critical. And yet you went and you were totally accepted and loved by all, like, it was eye-opening for me to kind of see.
There was a guy in a whole Spider-Man costume, like face and everything. I'm being serious.
To see a softer, more playful maybe group or more accepting group. I just found that very heartwarming. Yeah. Let's move on to a couple more questions before we stop this. What do you think is the hardest thing about being in high school in today's times that people my age might not realize? Like, I know you couldn't go to school when I was in school, but what do you think is new that makes it harder now than it was when I was young?
Well, before I talk about harder, I'm just thinking of something not that doesn't make it harder. It makes it easier for us, but I think is more criticized by your generation, is the concept of mental health days. And that was something that I never did until maybe January, because there was a point in January I was just stressed out of my mind. There was just a lot that was just coming. I just needed a break. And I was talking to one of my friends about this, and Marcy. And Marcy told me just how important stuff like that can be. And it really is true, just because if you're just constantly, you want to push yourself to always succeed and to always do better. But if you just keep pushing yourself and wearing yourself out day in and day out, you're going to have no joy in what you're doing. And if you have no joy in what you're doing, you're going to have a huge lack of motivation.
And you're right, there is a change, because obviously me growing up and the way Granddad raised me was you don't quit till you're dead.
Yeah.
And so there is also that tendency for people my age to look at young people and go, oh, you're lazy, you're not
like you don't know the meaning of hard work.
Right. And there's probably a generation disconnect. Because nowadays, I think the world hits you faster and more steadily than it did. For example, I use the argument of when a child went home from school when I was a child, that was pretty much it as far as interacting with your friends until the next day, unless you lived in a neighborhood. Where I lived, I was kind of far out, so I didn't have friends that lived next door. But that was kind of it. If you were bullied at school, it stopped at 3:00 when you went home. If you were picked on at school, it stopped at 3:00 when you went home. If you were in a class with people you didn't like, you didn't have to really see them after 3:00 and on weekends and all summer long. Nowadays, with social media and everybody being, and this is why Mom and I tried to protect you and your sister for a long time. With social media, that bullying can continue 24/7, or that drama with your friend that you mentioned earlier.
It's just become a whole new thing that people have to speak out against.
Yeah, and so it's just, maybe it's just that we don't realize that all of the drama we felt for 7 hours a day is now 24/7. And so there's a little bit of a disconnect
Right.
there. What are you most excited about as you head to college?
I'm most excited about, obviously, Ram Band. Just continuing with
Logan's going to be attending Shepherd University in the fall, so he's going to be in the Ram Band.
GRB, means Go Ram Band.
Okay.
But just being able to work with and get to know people that share my interests and my hobbies. I just the other day, I told you this, talking with Corey. Corey is, just for context, I say that a lot for context. Corey is a graduating senior this year in the Shepherd drum line. And long story short, they were short a bass drum player. And they said they were hoping to find someone from the woodwind section, since we have maybe 8 or 9 clarinets and 13 flute/piccolos. They were hoping to take one of us. So I said, I've got a little experience, I'll volunteer. So he said, all right, let me give you a call and just explain the situation to you. And there was a point in the call just talking with him, asking questions, getting answers I need, like, will this affect my classes, or will I have to sign? He's like, oh no, it's fine. It's just for this or just for that. It's all simple. And he's like, dude, you really seem, just talking with you now, you really seem like you'd make a good brother, like just in talking with, just fitting in with the group. He said, like, you seem like a really just good, caring guy.
That's good.
And even with all the teachers,
while you're doing that, I'm just grabbing 2 markers for an upcoming activity I forgot.
And just all the faculty, because it's compared to a place like WVU, where my friend Brent's going. WVU is a very big school. Shepherd's much more small town, and everyone knows everybody. Such is the case where I maybe went into a couple special events where I played as part of a special ensemble, and the faculty already remember me. I haven't even showed up one day as a student, other than maybe orientation, if you count that. And I've already, I don't know if making a name for myself is the right word, but I'm a familiar face.
Well, and that's what it is. And I mentioned it to you too. When you have a small department or a small university, you're able to, sorry, I'm handing out materials here.
Right.
You have an opportunity for people to know who you are. When you go to a large college or a large university, there's no way for them to remember 200 students coming in or 50 music majors coming in. But when you go to a small enough college where, it's just you and maybe 15 other people, or you and 20 other people, or you might be one of 3 clarinet players that start there in a year, then they know that, oh, hey, yeah, that's that kid Logan. And it's they're able to keep track of whatever it is that you do and what they know of you. So, yeah, it's microfiber. Ooh. All right, good. 5 seconds or less. What's your favorite memory from your senior year?
Going to Lewisburg for the first and only playoff game I've ever seen our team go to.
So football.
Yes.
The football game, away game.
Yes, we were gone.
Any particular reason?
Just all of it. I'll try and keep it a 30-second story.
School bus ride with your friends.
School bus ride with my friends. We stopped at a diner on the way down. We got to leave halfway through the day, so we missed all of our afternoon classes.
That never changes.
10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. We were ahead by a point, and we were all just on the edge of our seats.
Yeah.
And
Excitement.
we ended up winning. And we just had a long bus ride back. We didn't get back till maybe 2:30 in the morning.
It was late.
It was, God, it was
I
the
know,
best.
because I had to come pick you up.
It was so much fun.
All right, Logan, thank you for all your answers. I appreciate it. Hopefully, I just thought it'd be interesting because a lot of people forget, and they want to, well, what's different now? Hearing it right from your mouth was really important.
Thank you.
All right, let's go on. You got our cat.
Yeah, our cat.
Our on-duty cat.
Yeah.
The more you pet, the more she'll meow, or he'll meow.
Yeah.
All right, let's do our last segment. This is segment 4, and it's called Rough Draft, and that's why we needed our whiteboard and our
just pull up my other list.
I was thinking, what could we draft this is Rough Draft, of course. This is where we try to pick our top 5 in a category, and we're picking against each other. So the first thing, could you get Siri, I'll say even. Would you ask Siri to generate a number between 1 and 100?
Hey, Siri.
That's usually Mr. Will's job.
Generate a number between 1 and 100.
I took even. What number did it give you?
Give me a random number between 1 and 100. 17.
So it's odd. So you
It's
get to
odd.
pick first. So we are going to draft, Logan. And for those people in the audience, hopefully we pick the topic some of you know a little bit about. Maybe you've been there recently. But our family's passionate about Disney. And this is a category I know Mr. Will and I could not do because he hasn't been to Disney for a while. Although we could do it, but it wouldn't be fair because he doesn't know a lot of the new rides. But since we just went for your graduation, we're going to pick the top 5 rides at Disney World that we would pick for our number 1 choices. So here's the deal. As we pick these, we'll just number 1 to 5 on our paper. I need to get some new dry erase markers. Mine are starting to run out of ink. And we'll be picking against each other, but you get first pick, Drats. So pleased to be picking your number 1. I think he's already got it.
So I'm writing it down just because it's a long name. So for my first pick,
so is mine.
Yes, for my first pick, I've got a ride that maybe my opinion's biased just because of franchises that I'm into. You already know what I'm going to say.
I hope you don't, because that's my number 1 too.
Well, all right. So my dad and I, mostly me, are big Star Wars fans, and they recently, that's the face of defeat right there.
Yeah, I know.
So they opened maybe 4 years ago. They opened their own Star Wars land called Galaxy's Edge, and
it's only a 1 hour podcast. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
you're your father's son.
Yeah, well,
go ahead.
Trying to keep it short.
Oh, okay.
They do a really cool job with making you feel like you're really immersed in the stories of the movies. One ride in particular, my number 1 pick, Rise of the Resistance.
You killed me.
Very new ride, but let me just say,
yes, the
technology in that ride is absolutely phenomenal. It's a trackless ride, and there are some of the pathways are randomized depending on which vehicle you're in. You might get a slightly different variation of a path, and just the animatronics that are in the ride are so realistic, and the story that the ride tells is
phenomenal. I will agree, and that was my number 1 choice as well. Unfortunately, you took it, so I will have to go with Pirates of the Caribbean or Pirates of the Caribbean. I say it both ways. I tend to say Caribbean, but
I say Caribbean
Disney
for the movie.
says Caribbean.
Really?
So yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean. So
didn't know that.
Pirates of the Caribbean, and I like it because it is a boat ride. And by the way, I'll put up some pictures in post. The post-production staff will put up some pictures in post. That's a lot of P's. Wow, that was a lot of alliteration. I'll put up some pictures of the rides just as I find them, so to refresh people's memory if you've ever been to Disney. Pirates is a boat ride, but it takes you through, even before the Pirates of the Caribbean movies with Johnny Depp, this ride took you through these battleships fighting and pirates selling, auction. And it used to be they'd like auction off the women, but I guess when that became sort of politically correct, they've changed the ride. Now they're auctioning off the pigs and the livestock. But the lifelike, it's dark, it smells like when they burn the city, it smells like fire. It's
the auction scene, like
the auction scene, yes. All right, you're up.
So for my next pick, if I can write it down, so pick something that probably much more well known. I think a lot of people would consider this a Disney classic ride, which actually is getting a movie about it very soon.
Go ahead.
Haunted Mansion. This ride is a Disney classic.
Why are you doing this?
You took Pirates.
Why are you doing
Pirates? Is an easy choice.
Haunted Mansion. Actually, believe it or not in my top 3, but that's okay. Go ahead.
I don't know if it's in my top 3. Easily, it's in my top 5.
Okay.
But it's your classic.
Did you steal it this early because you thought I was going to take it?
Yes.
Okay. That's fair. That's strategy. That's smart.
And I knew it's a solid.
I just put the cap on it and toss it here because mine's out.
Oh, yours out?
Yeah. Oh. So if you don't mind, thank you.
Nice catch. It's your classic, just going through the haunted. I like the scariness, but also the humor that they put on it with taking you through the Haunted Mansion and seeing all the effects that they have with the busts that turn and look at you as you're going past, to the ballroom scene with the dancing ghosts, and then the graveyard where they're Grim Grinning Ghosts.
The Grim Grinning Ghosts. Grim Grinning
Ghosts.
Gosh.
I'm trying to say that 5 times fast. And the hitchhiking ghosts.
That's a twist tonguer. All right. I agree with you. Haunted Mansion is so fun. And Walt Disney said, when they were thinking about this, they wanted to make it a happy haunt. They wanted to make it family-friendly haunt. But the setting is upsetting to little kids, like
And
Grace
even the
was afraid
story
of it.
that
The
I think there are a lot of fan-made
Oh,
stories
yeah,
about the ride that's
yeah,
going on. It's grim.
It's a dark story, but no offense, Mr. Will, but it is a great, great ride.
Also, fun fact: the last ride that Walt Disney himself got to work on.
Gotcha. Okay, let's move on. Number 2 for me. Be prepared. Be prepared to cry, Logan.
I don't know what I have no idea. I have no idea where this is going.
Cry 1,000 tears. Thunder Mountain Railroad.
Solid pick.
Off the list. Thunder Mountain, the wildest ride in the wilderness. And Thunder Mountain is a train roller coaster. It's not by any means like the great big huge roller coasters in theme park or in roller coaster parks, but Thunder Mountain, strong. The setting is amazing. It's like you're in a Wild West mesa with big tall mountains, billy goats, water springs, dinosaur bones, all kinds of stuff. So there we go. There's your marker. If you want to write down your number 3.
Write down my number 3.
So far I got Pirates and I got Thunder Mountain. I can't believe you stole Rise of the Resistance. I wanted that one badly.
Well,
that ride is the most encompassing, like where you feel totally.
You feel like you're on the set of a movie.
Yeah, it's amazing. You feel like you're in the movie.
Right.
You feel like you're about to be gilled.
Dad, I might not be on the podcast again after this next choice.
Are you, because you're stealing it from me?
I hope I am. That would make it better.
Okay.
But this is a ride, also much newer ride that we rode for the very first time last trip, and all of our family, I think it's fair to say, we were very pleasantly surprised.
You just said fair to say. That's what I always say.
Enjoy the ride. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, number 3 choice.
That was an 8 on my list.
Really?
I love it. Don't get me wrong, and the technology is beautiful, but it was number 8 on my list.
Yes,
May I
replaced
have your marker?
The great movie ride from back when the park first opened. I think we rode that ride. And it's just...
And the great movie ride was great, and the Mickey Minnie, the technology is just amazing.
I think that's the first trackless ride that we've ridden, and also just the pre-show with...
And Rise of the Resistance is trackless, too.
With the pre-show with the cartoon and just the fact, like, whenever Goofy's on the train and then the train crashes and the screen, like, blows up and you see the screen open, and you enter, it's like you're in a cartoon.
You're right, because you're watching it on a movie screen, and not to ruin it for anybody, but after the movie, the screen blows up, a big puff of smoke, and the next thing you know, the screen has buckled out, and you're able to walk through the screen to get to the ride.
Into the cartoon world.
It's thoughtful.
Yeah.
All right, here's my next one. You've taken my number 1. I got 2 and 3, and now I'm going to go for my number 4 right here. I mean, it's my number 3, but it's my number 4 on the list. That is, here comes the marker.
Marker, thank you.
Here is number 3 for me. Soarin'.
Surprisingly, not on my list.
What?
I didn't think of that one.
Are you?
I mean,
are you? Is something wrong with your brain?
Soarin'
is one of the best rides in the entire world. Okay, I mean, it's better for me.
I was just
more votes for me. Well, here's what Soarin' is for those people that don't know.
Yeah, well, I think of my number 4.
And by the way, people can Google these and watch the ride videos to see if they want to. But Soarin' is basically an IMAX screen.
I'm picking my next.
Basically, the IMAX screen, ladies and gentlemen, and then you sit in these long rows of chairs, almost like a ski lift, and then they raise you up off the ground. So you're in 3 levels: a high level, a mid level, a low level. Depends on which row you get. Pardon me, I got a hiccups. Which row you get. But the seats all start down at the ground level, and then as you sit on them, they raise you up vertically like this. And then in front of you is this IMAX screen, and they tilt you forward and tilt you back, lean you side to side, and then they blow smells in. And as you fly around the world on this IMAX screen, it's all video taken from like a glider or a plane or a helicopter, and you feel like you're swooping. And then they lean you back when you're climbing up over the Eiffel Tower. When you fly over the Serengeti in Tanzania or wherever it is, they blow like that grass, dirt smell,
I love that smell.
and it makes you feel like you're really there. When you fly over the Taj Mahal, they blow the jasmine of the flowers.
Yep.
It's just the technology. For those that are older like me, you might remember a show called Silver Spoons. Silver Spoons was sort of the beginning of the idea of what the Peloton bike is and a lot of other bikes. The rich man on Silver Spoons, Rick Stratton's dad, had a bicycle that he would ride in his game room, and in front of it was a large screen TV. Now, keep in mind, there were no large screen TVs then. They didn't exist. But the idea was that you would ride a bike and it would make you feel like you were riding along the Great Wall of China. And that simulation it was sort of a precursor to the idea of virtual reality. Except you didn't wear goggles, you were just in front of a big screen. Right. And that's what Disney does here. It's ostensibly virtual reality or augmented reality for 200 people at once. And it makes you feel like you're flying. And I personally have always had dreams about wanting to fly and how wonderful it would be. So anyway, soaring for me is definitely one of my tops.
All right.
Number 4 for you?
Number 4 for me. One that I think is a very underrated ride. Not a very intense ride. Also, one I'm hoping I can steal from you because I know you are a sucker for this ride. My number 4, the Tomorrowland Transit Authority People Mover.
That is number 7 on my list.
7.
So you stole it for me. I listed 13. You did steal it off my list, but I may not need to go there because I only have 2 left.
Most people don't think People Mover when they think Disney, but I know, like, you and I and Mom and Grace just love that ride. It's an easy, maybe 15-ish minute ride through. Just takes you around all around Tomorrowland. Just all around Tomorrowland. It takes you in Space Mountain and it takes you in the Carousel of Progress and just all around different attractions. And it just shows you like Walt's original vision for Epcot, and it's really relaxing.
One of the best things about it is that it's a place to sit down in the shade. You go into some of the buildings that the rides are in as you tour around, and it's cool in there, and you're out of the sun. And when you just need a break, you just sit there and feel the breeze and take a load off your feet, and all of a sudden you are able to sit there and not have to worry about the sun or lines or people or anything. So it is a great break ride. Let me see. My next one that you haven't stolen out from under me, you stole Haunted Mansion from me. That's what I had for number 5. I had Rise for number 1. So you stole my 1 and my 5. I'm going to go to number 6. And this is another ride that's new-ish, but not brand new. And this is a ride that is one of the smoothest roller coasters I've ever been on.
Know what you're going to say.
And the theming is fun, and I just love it. At night, this ride, do you agree with me? At night, this ride was the best.
Absolutely.
Like
the entire land was the best at night.
It is. And that is the Slinky Dog roller coaster. Slinky Dog Dash, which is in Toy Story Land and MGM Studios or Hollywood Studios, whatever it's called now. Used to be MGM Studios. That is Slinky Dog. It's themed. You're in a big, long Slinky Dog roller coaster. Each car is like a section of Slinky Dog's body. And here we go. They got all the voices and you take off. It is so smooth and it is a lot of fun. So I love Slinky Dog, and especially that part where there's 3 or 4 of those up and downs in a row and you just feel like you're going to get thrown out of the roller coaster at the end. So love that. What is your final pick? Tough choice.
See,
your final pick.
I wrote one down, but I think I'm going to change it.
Oh,
can I give an honorable rationale? Can I give an honorable mention
after you pick? Don't say it now because it might be the one I picked.
Oh, right.
So pleased to be telling me which one you're picking for your 5th.
So, after recent deliberation, ride that you guys don't really go on with me that much.
Okay.
But I got to ride this for the first time after maybe 7 years, and just walking through, well, you know what? I'll just say what it is. I abbreviated it. The Tower of Terror.
The Tower of Terror. My mom said you might pick that one, and I don't think that's a bad pick.
I think
I'm just not into that ride.
Surprised it didn't, because it just came to my mind. It wasn't even on the list on my phone.
But you love, every time we've gone, you want to hit that.
I didn't get to hit it when we went 4 years ago, and I was upset that we didn't get to do it, and waiting all this time. I was like, I need to do this. So at night, whenever we were in Hollywood, I got on. Yes, and the line was very, very short.
Yes, because we were paying for the extras. And so we were able to stay in the park after everybody else left. So you were able to just kind of walk.
I was able to walk right into the ride, and just seeing the ride and the queue and seeing all the, like, the dirty hotel lobby with all the,
And for
Wow.
those that don't know, it's themed after the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror Hotel.
Yes,
So
the
it's
Hollywood
like
Tower
this,
Hotel.
yeah, so it's like this haunted hotel that hasn't been cleaned, and so they have cobwebs and all this old. It's
And they have
set
the
like in the
pre-show.
1920s or 30s. It's like this old style hotel.
And it's like a typical drop tower ride, and it's
Yeah.
randomized. I got off that ride, and I was laughing like a little kid,
Yeah.
and immediately I walked out, went right back on
Yep,
it.
absolutely.
I had just as much fun the second
All
time.
right, well, I'm going to pick my fifth and final one. You already
right.
stole People Mover from me. You stole Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So I guess the next thing I have to go down to is, and you know what? I had this at 9. I might have to bump one for purposes. You know
Choose
what?
wisely.
I'm going to bump one. I don't know. This is an audible. I'm making this call on the spot. I would like to go. I was going to go with, I can say it now because you're done, the Toy Story's Midway Mania.
That was on my list.
Because I don't know why, but it is repetitive, but it's so much fun. You shoot these 3D rings. It's like carnival games the whole time.
I get competitive with that ride.
It is fun to be competitive, and I'd like to say I've never been beaten.
I'd like to see how you and Will would do at that ride.
Yeah, Mr. Will would be good at that ride because he's faster than me. I think we all know why.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also think that it gets a little mundane. So I'm going to go with, for sentimental reasons, flashback to my dad, my mom. When I went as a child to Disney World, this was a ride that we had to hit every year. We loved it. And that is the Carousel of Progress.
I almost put that one instead of People Mover. I thought you were going to.
The Carousel of Progress, not so much a thrill ride. It was the one that Walt Disney designed. It actually debuted
Yep.
at the World's Fair.
1964.
And so it has got the history of Walt Disney, and it's got sort of this nostalgia of looking at what life was like and how they talk about, they say eventually we're going to have an ice box that keeps things cold for 4 days or something.
These two brothers are working on this flying contraption. It'll never work.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you really get to think of, for somebody like me, born in the 70s, it gives me a chance to see what were people thinking about in the 1900 or in 1920 or in 19. And then, it's hard for them to predict the future. Their newest scene in that ride is kind of more, is even out of date at this point.
It's like very 90s.
Yeah, but the point is, it really was fun to think about how much progress we've made in 100 years. So there you go. All right.
I will say the one that I put originally instead of Tower of Terror for my number 5, Everest.
I had Expedition Everest on my list, actually
Classic.
at 10. But
Classic ride.
It is a great ride. My trepidation for it is the only reason I didn't put it in the top 5, because I love it, but I hate it because it's a little too much of a roller coaster for me.
Oh, I love it.
But when I'm done, I'm so happy I did it. But when I'm on it, I get the butterflies, and I get, how I get quiet all the time. I get quiet when I'm on it because I'm scared. I don't like being out of control. But it is an absolutely greatly designed roller coaster. The great surprises, which we won't give away here in case people go, but just very cool. You're right. And the theming, when you walk through the bottom of the ride to get to the ride, it's like you're walking through a town.
You see like all the newspapers, like about the Yeti.
Yeah, it's just like you're in Nepal. They actually sent, who was it? Joe Rogan. No. I forget. It's one of the Disney Imagineers. They sent him, the guy with the beard and the earrings and stuff. They actually sent him to Nepal so that he could study what those villages look like in Kathmandu and the villages.
Joe Rohde?
Rohde, I think.
Joe Rohde?
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Let's move on. So that is the end of segment 4, Rough Draft. I think we both had decent lists. And for anybody out there who's a Disney fan, I think they can probably come up with whose list they agree with. Please leave comments.
Rides we didn't mention,
or if you disagree or agree with anything that we said. So I am going to end today. I'm going to end today with a funny joke. And this is probably a joke that people, well, not so funny, but a joke that people probably really hear about or can identify with, I should say, could understand. And then after that, I want you to play us a tune, because one of the things you do is play guitar, and you love Johnny Cash.
Love
And
Johnny
so we'll
Cash.
end with your music today.
Sounds good.
It says, this is my joke for this week. It says, my boss was honest with me today. He pulled up to work with his sweet new car this morning, and I complimented on it. He said, well, if you work hard, set goals, stay determined, and put in long hours, I can get an even better one next year. And I think a lot of people always feel like they're working for somebody else. And boy, that's so true in today's world. We always feel like we're working for somebody else. So, Logan, I'll let you introduce the song and play for us, and then we'll just say a quick goodbye at the
All
end.
right. Hopefully it'll pick up well on the sound. But this is a song that was not written by Johnny Cash. It was actually written by Chris Christopherson. Not sure when it was written, but it's a song that I've listened to recently, and just the more I listen to it, the more I really appreciate the story behind the song, and it's one that's very close to me. So this one's called Sunday Morning Coming Down. Well, I woke up Sunday morning with no way to hold my head that didn't hurt. And the beer I had for breakfast wasn't bad, so I had one more for dessert. And I fumbled in my closet, through my clothes, and found my cleanest dirty shirt. Then I washed my face and combed my hair, stumbled down the stairs to meet the day. I'd smoked my mind the night before with cigarettes and songs that I'd been picking. But I'd lit my first and watched a small boy cussing at a can that he was kicking. Walked across the empty street and caught the Sunday smell of someone frying chicken. And Lord, it took me back to something that I'd lost somewhere, somehow along the way. On a Sunday morning sidewalk, I'm wishing, Lord, that I was stoned. 'Cause there's something in a Sunday that makes a body feel alone. And there ain't nothing short of dying half as lonesome as the sound of a sleeping city sidewalk, Sunday morning coming down. In the park I saw a daddy with a laughing little girl that he was swinging. And I stopped beside a Sunday school, listened to the songs that they were singing. And I walked down the road, somewhere far away, a lonely bell was ringing. And it echoed through the canyons like the disappearing dreams of yesterday. Of a Sunday morning sidewalk, I'm wishing, Lord, that I was stoned. 'Cause there's something about a Sunday that'll make your body feel alone. And there ain't nothing short of dying half as lonesome as the sound of a sleeping city sidewalk, Sunday morning coming down. Thank you. Thank you.
There's thunderous applause in living rooms all across the world, or maybe just 3 living rooms, but that's okay. That's a start. Logan, thank you for sitting in for Mr. Will this week.
Thank you
Ladies
for
and
having me.
gentlemen, do me a favor. Go to YouTube and subscribe to our podcast by ringing the bell in the upper corner, or tell some people about our podcast. We're at 92. My goal is 100. Once we get to 100, I'll be able to die a happy man. No, I'll be able to feel proud that we reached that goal. We know we're reaching more and more people every week. So thank you very much. Find us on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, there's a White Chocolate Podcast page. We only have about 26 followers, but if you didn't know, we're on Facebook. You don't have to follow us, but it just helps us out. So
Instagram.
yeah, we're on an Instagram, White Chocolate Podcast.
Dig Dog.
TikTok, if you're on the Dig Dog, as Mr. Will says. Yep, we'll be on TikTok. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for so much. I know it was something different this week. We hope you had a nice week, and we'll see you again next week at the same time. Bye-bye.